الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على سيد الأنبياء والمرسلين محمد بن عبد الله النبي الصادق الأمين، وعلى آله وصحبه الطيبين الطاهرين ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين، وعنا معهم برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين، اللهم آمين. عباد الله، أوصيكم ونفسي أولا بتقوى الله العظيم وطاعته، فإن تقوى الله عز وجل هي رأس الأمر كله، وأحذركم ونفسي أولا عن مخالفة أمره ونهيه، فإن معصيته عز وجل هي أساس البلاء كله، ونعوذ به سبحانه وتعالى من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا، من يهد الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلن تجد له وليا مرشدا، ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، له الملك وله الحمد، يحيي ويميت وهو على كل شيء قدير، ونشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله أرسله الله عز وجل بالهدى ودين الحق ليظهره على الدين كله ولو كره المشركون. ثم أما بعد، يقول الله عز وجل في كتابه الكريم: يا أيها الناس إنا خلقناكم من ذكر وأنثى وجعلناكم شعوبا وقبائل لتعارفوا إن أكرمكم عند الله أتقاكم. O mankind, we have created you out of male and female and put you into tribes and people so that you may recognize each other. And the most honorable in the sight of Allah is the one who has the more taqwa. Events that happened in France and also in the West Bank reflect many things, but one of them is racism, العنصرية. The racist attitude of the Israelis manifests in the brutality of their soldiers. The way they kill people. Till now, this year, over than 25 children got killed in Gaza alone by the Israeli soldiers. And when a BBC correspondent interviewed the former Prime Minister, Israeli Prime Minister, she told him, "Are you in love with killing children?" He got upset on this, and they objected, and the BBC has to apologize for that question. They said the meaning is there, but the language is not appropriate. And not only this, عنصرية, racism, even against the African Jews who migrated from Africa. They were not allowed to donate blood to the other Jews. So, and they claim that they are subject for anti-Semitism, although this is according to David Ben-Gurion, the first Israeli Prime Minister. He said to Rahum Goldman that this is European phenomenon. He said Arabs have nothing to do with anti-Semitism. It's European phenomenon. It's in Europe. Again, it's عنصرية. عنصرية, racism, whether against the colored people or against Muslims or against Jews in Europe. عنصرية even in the notion of creating an entity in Palestine for the Israelis, for the Jews. Even that notion reflects عنصرية or racism of the West. There was an article published before Balfour Declaration, 1917, actually in June 1917, and the New York Tribune doesn't exist anymore now, but by then it was. So the article was the birth of a new nation. By the end, the author said that the great powers, the reference to the great powers then, Russia, US, UK, France, he said the great powers must recognize that their failure to build a Jewish center in Palestine would lead to the preservation within their midst of people who are becoming more and more conscious of their nationalism. If you fail to do so, you are contributing to the rise of this nationalism in your countries among the Jews. And he said, neither the United States, nor Russia, nor England, nor any other country can afford to cultivate nations within nations. So, export the problem to Palestine so that you'll get rid of this. And he said the Jews should become a nation within a country of their own where they could perpetuate their culture and national identity. And this in turn reflected on the way also Israelis are treating people. On killing, on taking their land. One time in Mansour I mentioned that Haaretz, an Israeli newspaper, quoted Ben Gurion again, the very first prime minister, in the 40s, after the quote-unquote the establishment of the state, or after the Nakba, of course. He said, because he said we are a bunch of thieves. Because many incidents happen that the Israelis are looting even after they took over the towns, the Palestinian towns. They would go to their homes and steal their belongings. And their belongings can be as little as coffee pot or a carpet or anything else. And the writer, I like the sentence written by the writer of the article. He said what happened is a systematic theft. We stole more than these belongings. We stole their land. This is what they said about this. Now, if we move to France, the way France is dealing with the problem gets into more problems. France, since the French Revolution, had their motto, liberty, equality, and fraternity, but not for everyone. France used to colonize most of Africa, and the North Africa itself, from Tunisia, Algeria, Morocco. And if anyone wants to move from Africa to France, they wouldn't be allowed to live in the towns. They have to live in different areas. So they established ghettos. Now, if you notice that the problems are happening in the quote-unquote suburbs. Suburbs are the ghettos meant to be built for the Africans who are coming from North Africa or from Africa. And they are, of course, they don't deserve to live the same standard of living the French are enjoying. They are stealing their land, they are stealing everything, and letting them there to be exploited twice in their lands, and even when they would move to settle in France. This is because of this concept, racism, that the French people are the cream, the white people are the most advanced people. And it has roots in their even philosophers. Voltaire, as an example, used to say that the Greek people are much more advanced than, and he used the N-word, than the niggers in Africa. Why? Those are whites and those are blacks. And they are trying, some intellectuals are trying, or some extremists, especially white supremacist extremists, they are trying to justify this by so-called scientific issues, pseudoscience, to show. I was reading the historian Richard Hofstadter said about this phenomenon. He said, although Darwinism was not the primary source for the belligerent ideology and dogmatic racism of the late 19th century, it did become a new instrument in the hands of the theorists of race and struggle. The Darwinism mode sustained the belief in Anglo-Saxon racial superiority. So, in both cases, we can see common factor. It's not something against the Palestinians per se or Muslims per se, but rather against other than being white and against other than being Jew. In Palestine, they passed a law says that Israel is the state for just one ethnic group. They call it أحادية القومية. This is just for one group. If you want to establish a nation or a state, you don't declare your state or nation belonging to one ethnic group. That if you want to build a true nation, if you want to build a nation that a colonial nation, you can do whatever you want. And Israel is a colonial project. Another aspect of their racism, they did not consider people who lived in Palestine as human beings before the Zionist project as envisioned by Herzl. They started marketing a slogan, a land without people should be given to people without land. So people who were living in Palestine at that time, they don't want to be called people at all. Knowing that there are people there. How do we know? Because Herzl wanted to have his first Zionist conference be held in Vienna. And the rabbis in Vienna, they didn't buy his claim. So they sent two delegates to visit the Holy Land to report to them about the situation there. So those two people sent telegram to the rabbis who sent them. They told them the bride is so beautiful, but she is married to another man. There are people there. It's not an area that has no people at all, so let's give it to them. But they don't consider people who are living there as human beings, as worth of living. And in France, you'll see the same thing. Only the privileged French people deserve certain rights and certain issues. Other than them, they are not worth of any right. And we can tell what Macron keeps saying, his language, the language he is using. And he is putting the blame on others. By the way, in 2017, they passed a law allowing police to shoot anyone. And this law is the reason behind that, since 2017 till now. And actually, in this century, 21st century, till now, just 23 years, 17 incidents of unrest and riots happened in France. More than what happened during the 1922, all of it. And whenever Macron faces a problem, he exports it to Islam. He claims that Islam is in crisis, while we know that it is France or Macron, the one who is in crisis, because of the makeup of the society. This racist notion that white people had the supremacy is behind all of this. Now, one person would say, What about Islam? What did Islam offer in this? Islam declared from day one that all people are equal. Allah Azza wa Jal says in the Quran Kareem, وَلَقَدْ كَرَّمْنَا بَنِي آدَمَ. We honored the children of Adam, not the believers from among the children of Adam. All human beings, whether they are believers, whether they are Muslims, whether they are disbelievers, whatever they are, as a human being, you are honored by being a human being. This is an honor for you being a human being. And that's why وَلَقَدْ كَرَّمْنَا بَنِي آدَمَ فَضَّلْنَاهُمْ عَلَى كَثِيرٍ مِّمَّا خَلَقْنَا. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala honored the children of Adam and made them superior to most creatures. Of course, they are superior to the other creatures, which we say the animals. And even some people said they are more superior to the angels. Because the angels have no free will. The human being have the free will. So if a human being honor the free will in the right way and declare the belief in Islam and in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala properly, he'll be elevated to be above the angels. And if he decides knowingly to reject the message of God that came to him from God, then they will be living the life which we are witnessing now. ويعصى عن ذكري فإن له معيشة ضنكا. And he who turns away from my dhikr, they will live in this life a very tough life. Now a person would say, well, we are witnessing, we see people living in luxury, but at the same time we can see the social problems, the family breakdown, the drug addiction, the homicide, the suicide rate everywhere. Because the message which is meant to organize people's life in this dunya and in the hereafter is ignored purposefully. Because of many reasons. Now I'm not talking about why did this happen in Europe. But the fact is that people are not willing to live their life according to the teachings of the religion that was sent to them by God. Some of them distorted it, some of them abused it, some of them terminated it totally from the life. And the ayah which I recited at the beginning of the khutbah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala states that Allah created us all as human beings, from male and female, and made us into tribes and people, شعوبا وقبائل. For what? لتعارف. Not to think of ourselves as superior to the others, but لتعارف. The superiority is in the sight of Allah, not in the sight of one another towards the other. إِنَّ أَكْرَمَكُمْ عِنْدَ اللَّهِ. The most honorable in the sight of Allah is the one who has the taqwa. But for us, we deal with people equally. We don't deal with people based on this criteria. This criteria is for Allah to judge us in the day of judgment. In this dunya, we deal with people in an equal way. And Islam actually did not recognize what other societies went through. Now a person would point out to some misapplications of the history, which is true. You need to face the reality that there happened periods of time in which these rules are violated. But this is not because of a deficiency in the system, in the religion, but rather because of the fact that this religion is meant to be implemented and carried out by human beings. And the human beings are not infallible. So it is expected that the human beings will carry out such things. There will be shortcomings happening in this way or another by this group or by that group. But does Islam provide a mechanism to address these problems? Of course, Islam provides a mechanism to address these problems. there can be a discussion how to understand this mechanism. What are the best parameters we can define in order to avoid such things from happening, to avoid historical mistakes? Because we do have historical mistakes, no one denies that. But can they be avoided? Maybe not to the level that you will have zero mistakes. Again, we are not infallible, we are not angels. There has to be mistakes here and there, but there will be a situation where these mistakes will be minimized and there will be a just mechanism to deal with them. But now, the mechanism by itself to deal with such problems is based on man-made ideologies, man-made system, man-made convictions, man-made notions, and at times based on short-term interest, not even a long-term interest. Short-term interest belong to X or Y views that it is the right way. And we are willing to enter into 2 world wars because of greed. The First World War and the Second World War happened because of this greed. Now a person would say, well, the First War, even the Islamic quote-unquote state get involved in it. The Ottoman state at that time, when the First World War happened, was not Islamic. The ones who decided to get into the war are the young Turks. The young Turks took over the ruling. They removed Sultan Abdul Hamid in 1909 and became the rulers until 1924. And they unfortunately dragged Turkey or dragged the Ottomans into the First War. So we are witnessing all of this because of these ideologies, because of this racism, because of this greedy, because of this conflict that is happening for worldly affairs. Throughout Muslim history, we did witness war, but never witnessed world war. Throughout Muslim history, we did witness conflicts, but not as the conflicts which we are seeing nowadays. It's unbelievable. So when we look at what happened in France, or what's happening now in the West Bank, the way they are dealing with people, it reflects all of these notions and all of these concepts. And Muslims do have the solution, but unfortunately Muslims are not in a shape that enables them to offer this solution to the world. Another point I would like to mention before finishing the first khutbah is that in France, if we notice, Macron tried to put the blame on the families. That the families, because most of those who got involved into these riots most of them are actually Generation Z and some of them are from Generation Alpha. So he said the kids which are doing it are because of their families, they are not controlling them. So you should have control your kids. But if a family wants to teach their kids that you are created the way God created you, you cannot think of yourself the way you think. If you are a boy, you cannot think of yourself that you are a girl, or that you are a cat, or that you are this or that. If a family wants to train their kids in this way, oh no, you are not allowed. You are infringing their freedom. They are free to do whatever they want. Well, if they are free to do whatever they want, why are you asking me and holding me responsible on what they are doing? I'm not allowed even to talk to them. I'm not allowed to tell them that you got to pray, you got to do this, you got to do that, because our religion allows us to do this and doesn't allow us to do that. And the same thing is happening in Israel. In Israel, if a person is caught doing a quote-unquote an operation, an attack on Israeli settlers or Israeli soldiers, they will go to his parents' house and demolish it. For what? What does the parents have to do with whatever the child is doing? If he did something wrong, apply the punishment to him only, not to that. But it's this very same mentality. By the way, the French police, some part of training of the French police is by the Israeli police. So it tells you that how things are going on. So we pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He will open our hearts and minds to understand Islam properly and enable us to carry it to others so that we will carry our responsibility toward the word. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم واستغفر الله إنه غفور الذنوب جميعا. الحمد لله رب العالمين ولا عدوان إلا على الظالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيد الأنبياء والمرسلين محمد بن عبد الله النبي الصادق الأمين. Muslims in the past, despite of their shortcomings, carried Islam to people, and people in the world enjoyed prosperity, enjoyed peace. You go and ask history, and it tells you that the Ottoman Khilafah opened its borders to the oppressed people. When the Inquisition Court took place in Spain, and they started expelling Jews and Muslims. If you as a Muslim, you are offered either you will get killed, or you will be leaving the country, or you convert. And the same thing to the Jews, and many Muslims and Jews left their territories, and many Jews settled in Morocco, and some of them settled in the Ottoman Khilafah. And this is why people, the Jews who have sense, they do appreciate this till now. That the Ottoman Khilafah offered them safe haven when Europe went after them and against them. So we have, alhamdulillah rabbil alameen, a bright history. But nowadays, Muslim Ummah is not living its own destiny. Muslim Ummah is deprived of its power to rule, deprived of its authority, deprived of its sultan. So Sultan al-Ummah is not there. We are now living under colonial regimes. No matter where you are living, from Morocco till India, the whole setup is post-colonial setup. Britain left subcontinent and divided into those two entities, India and Pakistan. France left North Africa and divided it into the three nations. The new problem that is happening now in the Gulf between Iran and Saudi Arabia and Kuwait. Now they have a dispute because of the gas in the Gulf. That should have been solved when the area was colonized by Britain. Britain left that area, those borders non-defined since then, because they are the ones who created entity called Kuwait. You should have defined your borders. Yeah. But the marine borders were not defined. And like I was reading one article, the root for the problem goes back to the British colonialism in that region. So this is what's happening when the colonial powers are ruling. And now the colonial agents are ruling us. So we have to realize that the solution is in Islam. And the solution is mentioned in the ayah, إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يُغَيِّرُ مَا بِقَوْمٍ حَتَّى يُغَيِّرُوا مَا بِأَنفُسِهِمْ. The solution is not simple, and I'm not trying to oversimplify it. Even this point, understanding Islam is a very sophisticated process, and it needs from us serious and continuous effort in order to study, internalize, try to create environment even within our communities, within our family, that will live the Islamic teachings according to the best of our capabilities, and trying to educate others about this, inshallah.